My day started off like a train wreck. I wasn't even fully awake when I heard this awful noise coming from the kitchen. I rushed in and found coffee pouring out of the machine like a flood. It wasn't just a little spill either, nope, it had exploded everywhere. The stovetop was soaked, the floor looked like a crime scene. I grabbed a towel to clean it, but the coffee had already crusted into the sticky caramel mess on the burners. And just like that, my whole mood was wrecked. Then, as if on cue, my laptop froze. And I mean froze. Like it was taunting me. No matter how many buttons I pressed or how many times I restarted it, nothing worked. And of course, I had a deadline. I was supposed to send edits to a client that morning. But time kept ticking, and I couldn't get a single thing done. To make things worse, my phone wouldn't stop ringing. Unknown number. I ignored it, twice. But on the third call, I just lost it. Hello? I snapped. Miss Taylor? Olivia Taylor? The voice was calm, professional, male. I blinked, caught off guard. Yes? My name's Thomas. I represent the estate of Michael Russo. Who? I asked. The name didn't ring any bells. I'd like to speak to you in person, he said. You can come to my office, or I can come to you. Honestly, nothing was going right that day. I figured a walk might clear my head. I'll come to you, I said. His office wasn't far. Just a couple miles from my apartment in Portland. The closer I got, the weirder I felt. Why was I being called in by some lawyer? What did this have to do with me? When I got there, I stood in front of this tall, old brick building with a golden plaque that read, Private Notary, Thomas Boyce. I double-checked the address. It matched. Inside, it was weirdly quiet. I knocked on the only office door. Hi, I'm Olivia Taylor, I said, stepping in. Behind the desk was this chubby guy with round glasses and a pen sticking out of his mouth like a cigarette. He was rifling through papers like he'd lost something. Been looking for that folder for 10 minutes, he mumbled around the pen, then pulled it out and smiled at me. Take a seat. I sat, still totally confused. He handed me a file. You're the sole heir of Michael Russo's estate. I blinked. I don't know who that is. Your third cousin, he said, like it was no big deal. He recently passed away. Everything he owned is now yours. Everything? I flipped through the documents. There it was, my name, next to lists of assets. A restaurant called Praha, several properties, a savings account with more zeros than I'd ever seen. It felt like a dream. Or a scam. Or a Netflix movie. I needed time. Just time to process this. That night, I couldn't stop thinking about it. Eventually, I got online and looked up the restaurant. There it was, Praha. It had job postings open for a dishwasher and a night guard. That's when it hit me. What if I applied? Just to see how it really works, from the inside. So yeah. I applied to my own restaurant as a dishwasher. I know how crazy that sounds, but something about it just felt right. I didn't want to walk in as some mystery owner with a clipboard and zero clue how anything worked. I wanted to feel it. From the inside. The interview was simple. The manager barely looked up before saying, we could use the help. Can you start tomorrow? Sure, I said, trying to hide the nerves. The staff was polite but definitely cautious. I could tell they didn't quite know what to make of me. But I got to work, kept my head down, and listened. Like, really listened. I watched how the place operated, how the team clicked, or didn't. And slowly, I started to fit in. The guy running the place? His name was Sean. Early 30s, probably. Sharp, calm, respectful. People liked him. Trusted him. If I hadn't seen my name on the paperwork, I would have assumed he owned the place. Sean carried the whole restaurant on his back like it was no big deal. I learned a lot just by being around him. From the way the waitstaff responded to his quiet authority to the way he'd jump in if the kitchen got swamped. Everyone followed his lead. One of the servers told me Sean was recently divorced. His ex had married some tech guy from Europe and moved to Amsterdam. Harsh. I didn't say much, but I made a mental note. Not because I was interested, at least, I didn't think I was, but because pain like that leaves traces in people. Anyway, I was settling into this weird double life. Dishwasher by night, secret owner by, well, also night. Until one evening, right before my shift ended, Sean stopped me. "Hey, Olivia, I've got a favor to ask." "Sure." "I've got a client waiting, and I left a folder in the owner's office upstairs, Michael's old space. Can you grab it for me? Should be right on the desk." He tossed me the key without hesitation. It was the first time I'd been in that office since everything changed. The room was quiet. Simple. Still smelled like polished wood and old coffee. I grabbed the folder, ready to head back down, when something on the monitor caught my eye. Security feed. Back entrance. A guy in a black hoodie was crouching near the door, looking over his shoulder. And then he ran. I froze. I rushed to the back exit and opened the door, and there it was. A basket. Something moved inside. I hesitated, then knelt down. I peeled back the blanket and nearly jumped out of my skin. It was a baby. A newborn, wrapped in layers of soft cotton, barely bigger than a loaf of bread. My heart was pounding. There was an envelope tucked beside him. I shoved it into my pocket without thinking and carried the basket back into the building. Sean stepped into the hallway just as I was heading back in. "You found the folder?" he asked, but his eyes locked on the baby. "Wait, what the hell is that?" "Someone left him," I said. "Back door." I saw it on the security camera. His face went pale. "Is he okay?" "I think so. Sleeping, at least." "Do you know who?" "No clue." "Shit." He paused. "We need to call someone." "Maybe, not yet," I said. He looked at me like I was losing it. "Just until we figure out what's going on," I added. He nodded slowly. "Okay. But... Olivia, what are we getting into?" I didn't have an answer. Sean called us a car. I rode with the baby on my lap, still in total shock. Thank God I hadn't moved out of my apartment yet. It was small but cozy, 2 couches, a kitchenette, nothing fancy. I laid the baby's basket next to my bed, then set Sean up on the second couch. That night, I barely slept. I got up 3 times to feed him, change him, just make sure he was okay. Sean, of course, passed out like a brick. Typical. The next morning, I woke to the sound of soft crying. I stumbled out of bed, only to see Sean already cradling the baby. "Hey," he said with a crooked smile. "Your son's hungry." I laughed, still groggy. "You two look weirdly good together." He grinned. "Don't get any ideas." But I kinda already was. Later that morning, he was getting ready to leave when I stopped him. "Before you go, we need to talk." "Can it wait till tonight?" he said. "Big day at the restaurant. I'm signing a contract with a new supplier." I hesitated. "And besides," he added with a wink, "it's probably time everyone finds out who the new owner really is." He blew me a playful kiss and walked out before I could say a word. I sighed. Yeah, that's exactly what I wanted to talk about. He called in the afternoon. His voice was tight. Serious. "Olivia, can you recognize the guy from last night?" "I think so." "Why?" "There's someone hanging around the back of the restaurant. Sending you a photo." My phone dinged. I opened the image and felt my stomach drop. "That's him," I said without hesitation. "That's the guy." Sean came home late, looking exhausted but wired. I'd made dinner, mac and cheese, nothing fancy, but warm. The baby had been an angel all day. Slept, ate, repeated. God, I forgot how good actual food tastes, Sean said between bites. Working at a restaurant and never eating, it's ironic. We talked casually for a bit, but then I said, there's something I need to tell you. He looked up, fork halfway to his mouth. I handed him a folder, the copy of the will. As he read it, the color drained from his face. He didn't speak. Just flipped page after page like he was trying to prove it wasn't real. When he finally looked up, his eyes were cold. Wow. So it's you. The big mystery owner. He set the folder down. You really went all in with the undercover act. Sean, I wasn't trying to trick you. He stood. Thanks for dinner. Wait, I said, maybe a little too sharply. Sit down. Please. Something in my voice made him pause. He sat. Hesitantly. There's more. I pulled the letter from my pocket, the one from the baby's basket, and handed it to him. His eyes scanned the page, and I watched his whole expression shift. Something in his face softened. Is this real? He asked, voice lower now. I nodded. He exhaled deeply, like 1,000 pounds had been lifted off his chest. I thought you'd never want anything to do with a guy like me once you had money. But this, he glanced at the baby and smiled. This changes everything. He leaned over and kissed the baby's head. You little game changer. The baby made a soft hiccup, and we both lunged for him at the same time. Our heads knocked together, and we laughed like idiots. Yeah. Something had definitely changed. As I rocked the baby back to sleep, Sean whispered, we've got to find that guy. The one who left him. This can't stay a mystery forever. I nodded. If he's still hovering around the restaurant, we'll find him. The next morning, we did something wild. We brought the baby to work. Yeah, I know. But it worked. Sean checked the security feed mid-shift. There he is, he said, pointing. Hoodie guy. He's out back. Just standing there. I'll go, I said, heart pounding. If something happens, call the cops. I walked around the building, slow and quiet. When I got close enough, I spoke softly into his ear. Looking for someone? He jumped like I'd lit him on fire. He started to run, but I caught his sleeve. Wait. Please. We need to talk. Back in the office, he sat down, tense, anxious, and told us everything. My name's Greg, he said. I was Michael Russo's driver for 10 years. But he wasn't just my boss. He was my friend. He told us about Michael's wife, how she'd been sick for years and passed away peacefully in her sleep. Michael barely lasted a month after that. His heart just gave out, Greg said quietly. He never complained, but I think it was all just too much. Michael had fallen in love with someone else before his wife passed, a woman 10 years younger. She didn't ask for anything. Didn't pressure him. Just loved him. And she got pregnant. Michael didn't know. He died before she could tell him. She called me 2 weeks ago, Greg said, his voice cracking. I hadn't seen her since the funeral. She was about to give birth. The doctors told her it was risky. She said if anything happened to her, I needed to protect the baby. Make sure he didn't end up in foster care. Greg looked at me. I knew you were Michael's only relative. He told me once, years ago. I figured, if anyone should raise this kid, it's you. The room went quiet. Then Sean cleared his throat. I don't want to sound crazy, he said, but Olivia, marry me. I blinked. Wait, what? Look, he said quickly, if you're gonna keep the baby, and I know you want to, it'll be hard. Legally, I mean. The system's a mess. But a married couple? Stable home? It'll be so much easier. We'll go through everything by the book. He paused. And don't worry, I'm not in this for the money. I've got my own place. My own savings. Just slightly less than his. Greg laughed quietly. Honestly? He's not wrong. I looked at both of them. Then down at the baby. And I said it. Okay. I'm in. After that, the notary's office turned into a full-blown war room. DNA tests. Legal filings. Guardianship paperwork. Sean never left my side. Neither did Greg. And when it was all done, we were a family. Me. Sean. And little Logan. A year later, our second baby came along. We named her Lily, after my mom. Greg became their godfather. Swore no one in the city could steer a stroller better than he could, and honestly, he took that job seriously. So yeah. That's the story. Not a fairy tale. But real. Messy. Beautiful. Ours.